Hello, it's Benjamin here. I'm here to show you a little bit about Prusa. I've got Prusa slicing software. I also have ran uh, other slicing softwares. I've got my Bamboo Lab printers. I've also got an Ender 3. I've done UltiMaker Cura. I've been using UltiMaker Cura for 7 years now. I've had my Ender 3 for 7 years. I just got an A1 Mini here recently, but that's more recently what I've been working on. But Prusa is still working for me on my Ender 3. I still like to use UltiMaker from time to time, but Prusa has been what I've shifted to now. They seem to have a little bit more features that I like. There's a little difference between them. This is the website you go to for your download for Prusa. You've got the Mac, the Linux, and the Windows version. I've got the Windows version on my computer here. Once you go to download this, it'll take a little while to download, and then you're going to wind up having something that looks like this. This is your typical Prusa. It's going to want to walk through setting up your printer. You'll want to definitely set up your printer so it has all of your default and it has the right code for everything. Once you get your printer set up, depending on what printer you purchase first, I recommend always the Ender 3 V2, which is a great model. Sometimes you can pick some up of the original Ender 3. There's a little bit of a patch that you have to do for your Ender 3, the old Ender 3s on this PrusaSlicer. From whatever this last update was, there was a little issue with my walls not closing all the way, so I had to make my walls a little closer together so I wasn't getting much of that effect on them. So there's a little bit of tweaking you got to do with Prusa in the background so that your prints come out normal. When you first begin, it's going to be on beginner's mode. There's not going to be a lot of options for you. One of the very first prints that a lot of people start with is you've got your Benchy here. As you can see on Prusa, I'm rolling around, I'm rotating around my project here with my left mouse click. I'm holding it and I'm dragging, and I'm able to just rotate around the part here and look around at my Benchy. If you right click, you can move. You can hold your right mouse and you can move the screen around. You can also scroll in and out with the scroll bar. As you're doing these prints, you can go ahead and add, which will add extra STL files. You can delete highlighted things you have. You have delete all, deleting all STLs on the print. You have arrange, so it'll do an automatic arrange within your build plate. Sometimes that doesn't do the best arrange, and sometimes you just need to manually go ahead and position them yourself. I've noticed that occasionally when I have things that are tight fitting, it doesn't like to fit them all in one print. So you may need to tweak it. This arrange feature may not have everything you're looking for. You've got copy, so you copy your things. You've got your paste feature, split objects. You've got variable layer heights. I don't typically use variable layer heights, but sometimes you might want to. You get a finer finish on some of the details on your things. When people make busts or artistic features for things, they'll use variable layer heights so they can make something a little more neat on top and a little less on the bottom. You can go to undo. You can also redo. You've also got features such as move, which gives you the axes. You can pull the part back and forth. You also have your positions here. You've also got a scale feature, so you can scale your project. It will do it all together in some areas, and sometimes you can just elongate it. So be careful with that feature here. You can elongate it in certain axes. It doesn't always move all the same. And I just clicked undo. My scaling went back to normal. I can also go to rotate my feature. I can click on an axis and I can just hold and rotate the part, and it'll rotate all together. I can rotate across any of these axes. If it's out and it's not going to print like that because the bed of the print is not going to allow that, it's just going to turn into a flaky mess. You can go to this place on face feature here, and you can see that all these different faces are now lit up, and once you click one, it's going to immediately snap that to the bed. Now see, it's still out of rotation here a little bit, but that should be fine for the printer to handle. You also have your measurement tool, so you can go and measure from certain areas on your print. You can see it's showing that that's a 5.499 degree angle on the top of the boat to the bottom there. The measurement tools on Prusa is not the very best. It's kind of hard to get things correct on it, especially when you're dealing with meshes rather than step files or certain kind of engineering files that are flat. You typically have a hard time measuring items on here. You can get away with some, but sometimes you can't get the entire form to be measured out on Prusa. So here's our part. We're going to go ahead and go to our print settings. Typically, I like to run my ender on this 0.16 millimeters as the optimal speed. If I'm doing a massive print and it doesn't really need to look good, I like to go to this draft speed, this 0.24. I've not seen much of a difference between draft speed and draft. I don't typically use normal, but if I'm doing something delicate, I'll use optimal sometimes. So I'll switch this to optimal. It's still got the 0.4 millimeter nozzle on it. I've got generic PLA and I've got standard PLA. You can go ahead, you can add and remove different filaments. If you try to use ABS or TPU or other different filaments that you might want to use, you'll want to add and remove those because they'll have different features and different parameters that you want to set things to. So I'm going to keep this on standard PLA, and then you can go to your printer. I've got 4 different Ender 3s on here. Every nozzle is going to change your printer on Prusa. So my printer's set for a 0.4 millimeter nozzle here. My supports, I'm going to go ahead and do supports on build plate only. I like to do supports on build plate only. As you keep doing more and more 3D printing, you're going to find out that supports are not always your friend because you have to do post-processing on them most of the time. So if you can get away from doing any supports, you're going to be way better off with finishing. But if you do have to have supports, you'll definitely want to do supports on build plate only. That'll allow you to have easy access to tearing the supports off. You'll still have to do the post-operating, but that won't be as bad. You'll be able to get the supports off and you won't have to deal with little supports in these windows and doors of this little Benchy model. Typically my infill, I like to go 20 to 25%. You can get away with 10%. I don't like getting away with 5%. I've not tried 5% too often, but I don't prefer that. When I'm doing something a little more that I need a little more mass integrity, a little stronger of a PLA, I like to use 40%. I don't much go over that. It's just a waste of material at that point. If you're at 40% and something breaks, you're probably not going to do much better when it goes up even higher than that. Your print's most likely just going to fail if it is too much weight to hold for that. So we'll go ahead and put this at 25%. I like to keep this brim on the brim, so each item it's going to do a little brim on it. I like to do it because it allows me to verify that my Ender 3 is manually flattened. I had to take my bed and level it myself on every print I do on my Ender 3. So this brim allows me to just verify that I'm in the right spot. And on the build plate, sometimes I have some weird divots on my print bed, and I like to just double check that where I'm going to print this Benchy, that the brim is going to allow me to see if there's any defects in that area that I need to be aware about, or it'll signal that I need to re-level it again. Sometimes I can get away with not re-leveling it for a whole week, but typically I just double check with a brim. It's worth the extra filament when you're first starting out to just go ahead and brim and make sure that you're flat. As far as the Benchy goes, we're not going to mess with any of these features. That's the axis position on there. You've got your rotation, your scale, the size of it. That's correlating with your scale here. I can go ahead and hit the undo button, and there you go. It's back to where it is. So I'm going to go ahead and slice now. So it's going to go ahead and start slicing. you can see that it switched from this 3D editor view over to preview. So this is what it looks like here. It went ahead and did all the support on build plate only here. So there's your supports. It's not going to do any supports here to the window or the doors or anything like that. So there's probably going to be some stringing here at the bottom of this door. You can see my mouse, I'm kind of clicking over it here. There's probably going to be a little bit of stringing here. You're going to get a little bit of filament that's going to dry out. It's going to have a little mark on this end. These overhangs should be fine. It's just this little top, it's going to have some stringing on the top there. The rest of it looks like it'll do good. There's going to be a lot of post-operating on all these parts that have the support on them. There you're going to have little, I guess, little teeth hanging off of there. And sandpaper normally takes care of it, but then you get a little bit of white marks on your print. And then you can see it's tracking how much used filament you have in grams, meters, and also millimeters cubed. You also got your cost, so it estimates. I'm not sure. I know you can change the cost on that analysis of how much 1,000 kilograms of a spool gets you, or it allows you to put a cost on. So you can make that cost whatever you want. Typically, my filament runs about $16 for 1 kilogram spools. You can find a little bit cheaper. You can find them more expensive. I've had everywhere between, but normally I go with Elegoo. And Elegoo, typically I can get a 4-pack for $16 for 1 kilogram spool. You also have your estimated printing time, so it's going to tell you it's going to take about 2 hours and 54 minutes. One of the weird things that I've had on my Ender when I first started, it kind of freaked me out at first. I kept seeing my print times were about 3 hours. There was a percentage on my printer, and it would say like 10% done, and it would be an hour into a print because the bottom was real big and then it got real small at the top, and it kept saying like 10% the way done. It still needed 90% of it printed, but I was like 60% all the way through the print. And that's when I realized, when you see that, it is doing a percentage of layers. So each layer is a percentage. So if you have a big part at the bottom, a big base, and then it gets smaller and smaller as you go up, you're going to see that percentage just spike really fast when it gets to the top, because it's the percent of layers left. It's not the percent of time left. So just be aware of that. Most printers are that way. I think my A1 and A1 Mini are also that way. So, but I think that's everything for today. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.